welcome to Gruen. In the most hotly anticipated rebrand since 7:30 lost the report and Gruen lost the transfer. Nation, Sweat and Planet. Facebook has a new name.
I am proud to announce that starting today, our company is now Meta.
Meta. I thought it'd be better. What does Meta mean? Is it short for metadata, which Facebook has been stealing for years? Or a nod to the company's grubby origin story, as in, we'd never have Facebook if Mark Zuckerberg had met a girl in college? Meta means dead in Hebrew, but when I hear Meta, I think of this. Makes sense. Facebook is full of shit. So what is Meta? According to a pithy 77-minute launch ad that I made someone else watch on your behalf, it's a metaverse, a virtual reality to escape the actual reality Facebook already ruined. Once you put on a stylish VR headset, the metaverse will work like this.
There are going to be new ways of interacting with devices that are much more natural.
More natural than you? Impossible!
Instead of typing or tapping, you're going to be able to gesture with your hands, say a few words, or even just make things happen by thinking about them.
Oh, wow, let me try. Nah, he's still alive. The metaverse Zucker Nerd is spruiking has unlimited possibilities. You can visit a living room or an office. Wow, I wish places like that existed in real life. And most amazing of all, you can visit an unbelievable world where people are actually happy to see Mark Zuckerdork.
Boy.
Oh, hey, Mark. Hey, what's going on?
Hi, Mark. What's up, Mark?
This place is amazing.
Is it amazing? You're playing cards. Or you can look at a video of a dog.
You have to see this. Beast is going crazy.
Oh, I love that guy.
That guy must feel so loved. He got his wife a dog so she could feel loved. And they even found a way to make street art uncool.
3D street art? That's cool.
Send that link over so we can all look at it.
Weird they didn't go with my favourite street art. But there's one part of the Meta announcement that really pissed me off. Their logo, which looked like this. Yes, we've been through this before. That is not your logo. That's from Disney's Movies Anywhere. Oh, and these other brands. Not to mention this innovative media company, not sure what it's called, but I see its logo all the time. In Senate estimates. Time to welcome our panel, Russell Howcroft, Christina Aventis, Annetta Gloucester and Todd Simpson. Right now, world leaders are meeting in Glasgow about that whole end of civilization thingy. And as the world heats up, so does the competition to sell the future. In this year's Super Bowl, essentially schoolies for advertising, big brands debuted big new ads for electric cars like this one.
Did you know that Norway sells way more electric cars per capita than the US? Norway. Well, I won't stand for it. Never mind.
So much for saving the globe. In Australia, pretty much the only thing that's close to net zero is the uptake of electric vehicles, which make up less than 2% of all car sales. And now, even our ads are telling us why we don't want one.
I know what you're thinking. Electric. It's not for you. You're probably right. Electric just doesn't have enough range. Everyone knows water and electricity don't mix. No more hanging out here either. Electric just can't keep up. So maybe an electric car isn't for you. Or is it?
And I love an ad that thinks it knows me.
I know what you're thinking.
Well, then I apologise for thinking that. I'm sure you're actually very nice. Christina, is taunting the customer the best way to make us do a Dylan and go electric?
Look, I think they're aiming for enlightenment here. They might have just got it a little bit wrong. This is about a dream. It's a daydream of sorts. And we've got our protagonist. He's probably a chief technology officer somewhere. He's, you know, Mr. Suburban. He's got his architecturally designed house in the background. You clock that, as well as he designed a dog. And this is his electric dream. Basically, he's a disbeliever and he gets this kind of visit from the ghost of electric future who is trying to show him the electric way. And this is a classic myth-busting approach where your every objection is countered. They're trying to empathise with you but also prove you wrong all at once. It's got a touch of the gaslighting about it. And so is it effective? Look, I think it might make some EV people sort of, you know, curious, but I think for the target audience that they're trying to aim for, it does kind of make you feel like a little bit of an idiot, so it falls between a crack.
And the irony of an electric vehicle trying to gaslight, I think, is on the nose.
I think they do that purposely because they're in a twilight zone. We know targeting mindset works, but I'm not certain they're clear on what that mindset is. And Australians are unique in that because we are one of the lowest uptakers of electric cars. And so you ask, why? Why would we be so bad at it? Why can't we target that mindset? Well, we have, the thing they didn't target in that ad, we have this really extreme bargain culture. So the price at this stage is still too high. And we know that when it comes to environment, and the wallet wins, inevitably wins. So privately, we say we're all for the environment. And when we get into research, we say we're all for the environment. But as soon as it requires us handing over the cash, we switch.
Yeah, it's not as simple as that, because the distribution of places where one can charge still is an issue. So that needs to be fixed. So what people will do is, yes, they're rational about price, but they're also rational about, hang on, Australia has got a lot of distance to cover, and I'm nervous about whether that distance gets me to the next charging station. So there is a number of elements to the purchase rate being quite low here in Australia. It is interesting, the Audi ad, it is generic. So why make it? I think it's interesting. The only brand that's going to benefit from a generic commercial that's trying to sort of debunk some of the issues is Tesla.
Many electric car ads are selling a vague future with fine print admitting the models don't actually exist. Volvo prefers to guilt us about what's happening now.
So is this the ultimate safety test? Well, it depends. When you...
Climate change is the ultimate safety test. That's why we're changing to all electric.
While Hyundai asks us to think of the children.
Every little thing is worth it. Go all in. Power your world. Ioniq 5, all electric.
Hang on, did the car get her pregnant? Should have worn a muffler. Russell, is this a threat? Buy an electric car or the kid gets it?
Yes, yeah, no, well, it's about the future, and it's about saying the future of the world clearly is all around electric cars, and it is. All the major manufacturers are saying this is our future, and we're going to invest in ensuring that as time goes on, we're putting predominantly electric cars on the road. I think the Volvo one's really interesting for me as well, Will. It's a beautiful commercial. It's beautifully made, wonderfully crafted. Is it a stretch? So Volvo is known for safety, and then all of a sudden the ultimate safety test is what? I suppose they're saying the safety of humanity. So does that actually stick with the consumer? Again, I'm not sure. And I think this is where the brands, the traditional brands, are really struggling to find the right message that enables them to play in the EV game and not just, again, be generic.
You know the worst thing about that Volvo ad is the actor kept fluffing his lines, so they had to start 11 avalanches.
I think this is also interesting in that kids have a lot of influence on car purchases as well. Something like 37% of purchases are influenced by kids. And kids are starting to, I guess, have a car preference from the age of 6. My son's already got his eyes on a Tesla, so he's going to have something more than a Macca's job to get there. Of the 37% that are influencing purchase, overseas what we're seeing is more than 50% are steering their their parents to EV. Right? These are countries that have incentives. And the thing that we're seeing here is that, you know, kids are learning, they're victims of, you know, extreme weather events, they're learning this at school, and it's all pervasive. I can barely put an individually wrapped sort of tiny Teddy's package in my daughter's lunchbox for fear of retribution, and that's from the other kids. So you're going to be starting to see that kind of stigma attached to sort of, you know, combustion engines in the future as well.
But let's remember it was a 16-year-old girl that put climate change in front of the top of the agenda, right? So this strategy here is planting trees whose shade you'll never sit under, right? So that's what it's that trigger to get us to feel responsible and protective of future generations.
Yeah, and I think we should thank that 16-year-old girl, Nikki Webster. We're with you. We appreciate the work that you have done. So thank you, Nikki.
Kids are a gateway to women. And as we know, women are not advertised to generally, directly, in car marketing. And we know that kids are a kind of guilt trigger for women in terms of protecting, you know, protecting your family. And I think that this is trying to play off that. If you look at those two ads, if you look at the Volvo ad and the Hyundai ad, you got the Volvo ad which is saying everyone's going to die, and you got the Hyundai ad saying you and your family, your family's going to die. Which one is better? Well, I think now, over time, research has showed us that the individualized message is more powerful than the generalized message when it comes to the environment. And so bringing it down to the family and to the kids is a strategic way of triggering this sort of fear and guilt in parents to buy the car.
This week, Toyota announced their first electric vehicle, the BZ4X. Not to be confused with the iX, i4, EV6 GT, ID.3, EQA or MX-30. Side note, why do all electric vehicles have names like a secure password suggestion or Elon Musk's child? In 1897, the best-selling car in the US was an electric vehicle, often marketed at women. Now, electric car brands are powered by testosterone.
Hold on a minute. Did we hear that right? Dodge is making an electric car?
We're talking hypothetical, right?
You mean the Dodge that created the Hellcat Red Eye and the most powerful muscle car in the world? Why on God's green earth would Dodge ever build an electric car?
I'm saving the planet, but not in a girly way. For an electric car ad, that had a lot of emissions. Sunita, are blokes scared to buy electric?
So some people, when they think of the muscle car buyer, think of men with SPS, which is small package syndrome. So performance anxiety is probably a very real scare and concern. Now, the truth is, in 9 years, every car brand will be an electric car brand. So there's probably a ton of men and women, particularly in America, who are either loyal to or have built brands like Dodge on power and, you know, grunt and steel and performance and muscle, who are starting to go, oh, hang on a minute, how do we now build our purpose when there's performance anxiety, which is the biggest at the heart of cynicism around buying an electric vehicle? Performance anxiety, will it only last for 3 minutes, right? Dodge has to find a way to build a bridge between performance and why they're now electric. And that's what's kind of exciting about that ad, because you'll see a whole lot of automotive advertisers experiment with how to do non-formulaic car porn ads for the first time in years.
Yeah, and I think they've done it. I mean, whether you like the execution or not, strategically, it's sound. So they know their customer. Hyper, masculine, they're into performance. It's an ego purchase, not an ethical choice. If they had to choose between the environment and performance, they will choose performance. So don't let them choose. Don't make them choose. No. You work your positioning that this electric car becomes a want, you know, a really good car, rather than a need, which is to save the world. And whenever brands focus on bigger societal issues like that, it has a medicinal feel. It's like something you need, but you're not going to like the taste of it. And I think that they've said, all right, never mind that. We're going to focus on the performance that we have. So they're trying to keep that masculinity of their car brand and wrap it and stick it around an electric vehicle.
But let's be practical. You cannot have a car called the 840 horsepower demon or the Hellcat Red Eye and back it into a save the planet positioning. It has to stand for performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these cars are renowned for being insatiably thirsty and inefficient, so much so that there is a part of the ozone layer that has a Dodge logo on it, and they're probably proud of it. I mean, I do think, like, we've got to understand that this kind of backflip for Dodge is tantamount to Tony Abbott, you know, teaming up with Greta Thunberg at a climate change conference. It makes absolutely no sense, and they own it. They absolutely own it. And so in its own way, it's kind of dumb smart, and they've done the job well.
The biggest player in the electric car world is Tesla, owned by the world's richest person and hitchhiker, Elon Musk. Tesla is more valuable than General Motors, Toyota, Ford, Honda, Volkswagen, BMW combined. So let's take a look at Tesla's latest ad. Yeah, there isn't one. Why? Because Tesla has never spent any money on traditional advertising. Todd, does every brand need a billionaire playboy?
I think it's useful to separate advertising from marketing because he doesn't like advertising. He's publicly said he hates advertising and he doesn't do it, but there's no question. He could host this show. Yeah, but there is no question that he is a very clever, smart marketer. Word of mouth is probably their biggest channel, and they do it really, really well. He, as an ambassador and an influencer, is huge. 62 million followers on Twitter. So to put that in context, the highest rating television show last year in Australia did just over 3 million. He has 62 million every day that he tweets. Yeah. So he has a massive channel. And the other thing is product. If you want to sell a lot of product, create a better product. And he's doing that. He's putting all that money into innovation, into development, and the result is he is not selling electric cars anymore. He's selling a visionary brand that everyone now has bought into. It just happens to be electric.
But to be fair, Elon tweets, but Richard Branson wrote the book. He was the original billionaire playboy that gave great exposure by jumping out of planes and dressing up as female flight attendants. He was the original how to build a brand on stunts and marketing and PR. Elon's just sitting there playing on his phone.
Yeah, but the prediction is that Volkswagen will sell more electric cars than Tesla by 2025. Yep. But Tesla will command a premium price. So you can see what's going to happen now. Everyone's going to catch up, which will make it popularized, and Tesla will take an Apple approach, which is we never drop our prices. We keep them premium, and you'll pay for it because our brand is better and more interesting than all of these mainstream brands.
And then they'll have a different charger to everyone else.
Exactly.
Exactly. If there's one thing rev heads love, it's revs. Dun dun. Oh shit, what did we hit? That presents something of a challenge to electric cars, which are notoriously silent. Audi has even created artificial noises, courtesy of these wildly German-looking sound designers.
Was macht so ein E-Sound aus? Ich möchte was mich anspricht, was angenehm klingt. Ah, okay.
Personally, I would have gone with this.
I'm an electric car. I'm better than you.
Christina, which is better, selling silence or a signature sound?
I think even before you get to signature sound, we have to sort of, I guess, appreciate the value of sound for the driver as well. It has to be part of the product design. So the way people gauge speed on the road is through their sensors. They're less likely to look at the speedo and more likely to listen to the engine and the revs to understand what speed and if it's safe and if they have control. In fact, our brain is hardwired to filter out noise that isn't useful to it. So if your partner's chatting into the car, it's a primal instinct that's driving that. You're actually picking up on the cues in your car, getting feedback from the car, getting feedback from the engine, and that is what's gauging the speed and the control that you have. With electric vehicles, this is even further compromised. It's exacerbated because they're so silent. And what we found in testing is people actually underestimate the speed that they're going at, and so they overcompensate and go faster. It actually lulls you into a false sense of security. So in terms of sound design. There's an absolute need, even before you start branding it, in terms of the user experience of it and making it safe.
Yeah.
One strange thing we noticed is despite being cars of the future, EV ads are obsessed with the past. Jeep ads were looking back, while Mercedes went all the way from the beginning to the future. Pretty cool, but I think they might have left out one scene.
On July 8, 1940, the new Mercedes was delivered to Hitler's personal car pool in Berlin. Its service to the Third Reich had begun.
I wonder why. And now the pitch, the segment that Joe Rogan thinks is real life. Remember the cinema? I don't, so we asked our agencies to tackle this big-ticket issue. First, a pitch to get people to never go back to the cinema.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Simon. We're from Rare. Since COVID began, we've all become a lot more wary of the contact we have with other people.
We tapped into this very rational fear to show the true horror of going to the movies.
We hope you enjoy it.
Gross. And now a pitch to get people to go back to the cinema.
Hi, I'm Stephen from Smith Brothers Media in Melbourne. While there may be many different seats where you can watch a movie, our idea is to remind you there's no better seat than the cinema. Enjoy.
Gross. What will our panel think? Todd, which one did you prefer?
That might be a first where executionally there was such similarity.
Different topics.
Yeah,
like literally opposite sides of the argument. And it's like we said it's compulsory to put in a fart and an ass scratch.
They don't know each other at all. They have no idea what each other are doing. I think fear works best to stop us from doing something as opposed to inspiring us to do something. So I'm going with the first one.
Sunita.
I think there's a scene in the first ad that makes me award the second ad because cinema is a rite of passage for young people in the dark and we can't take that away from the kids too, so I'm going number 2.
So you're saying the hand job got you off the line, didn't it?
My dad's watching this, no.
No, oh, sorry. No, OK, your dad's watching. Christina?
Oh, they were both pretty convincing. I think since COVID, I've become a bit of a germaphobe and I don't think my immune system could cope with ad 1, so I'll go ad 1.
OK, ad 1. And so, Russ, that means you have the opportunity for a tiebreaker here.
Yeah, so as you said, Will, they were both equally gross, so number 2.
Yes.
OK, well, sounds like that's an absolute tie. So congratulations to Rare and Smith Brothers Media. We'll send you these trophies after the credits. Now to anarchy in the UK, and an ad so controversial it dominated headlines for 2 weeks until it was yanked off air. This is an ad that has been accused of sexism, gender ideology, repackaging the patriarchy and glitter, and everything that's wrong with modern Britain. Meaning, presumably, the ad is to blame for everything from warm beer to Prince Andrew. Now, this I have to see.
Just like the white-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing. And the days go by like a dream in the wind, in the web that is blown. But the moment that I first lay eyes on you, all alone on the edge of 17. Just like the white-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing. Just like the white-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing. Baby, said just like the white-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing.
Well, I am outraged. Destruction like that should only ever be caused by a dog with a lightsaber. After receiving more than 300 complaints, John Lewis pulled the ad. Why? Because their insurance would not have covered deliberate damage. They said they will contact every customer who purchased the insurance to confirm they understood the ad. Well, good, because I didn't. Like, why would anyone leave out 2 bowls of the messiest substance on earth? And why was Mum reading 2 books at once? Hope they were parenting books. Surely John Lewis would have loved all of this. How do I put it? Drama. Sunita, was this all part of the wonderful plan?
Look, success in advertising is when your ads get talked about. So I hope the whole team at John Lewis are loud and proud about this ad, because the great upside is the conversation that they are normalising around gender identity. And this is what makes powerful advertising so fabulous. You know, I've got friends all over the world that have sent me messages saying they wish there was advertising like this on TV when they were growing up and coming out. Now, it's unfortunate that this ad was picked up on a technicality, which was the willful damage that the little boy Reggie does, but it gave a moral victory to the anti-LGBT protest that was going on in London, so that's unfortunate. But it reminds me of that Telstra ad where the 2 guys announced their engagement to the gruff dad, and he says, "'Bout bloody time." And that's what I think about this ad. 'Bout bloody time, we start bringing the whole rainbow into the living room, and I think bravo to John Lewis. Let's have more of it.
It's great. It's great brand. It's great brand building stuff in the end, isn't it, Will? Because you know John Lewis wants to be about joy. We know in their Christmas commercials they do that absolutely brilliantly, and it's picking up. There's a long history of people just joyfully dancing, you know, Gene Kelly and Singing in the Rain, right? Billy Elliot. Even a gorilla behind a drum kit is just displaying joy. So for me, there's a wonderful filmic history to it. They've attached themselves to something that I think we've seen before. And yes, there's a bit of a cultural overlay, but it's a type of advertising that, in particular in Britain, people fall in love with.
I mean, I love this, and when I saw it, I was like, I wish we could do advertising like that. And I think that I'm disappointed that the Conservative Britons sort of tore it down, and I wonder if they tried to do too much, in that in trying to, I guess, tear down one stereotype, they built up another. So you see the mother there, probably looking at her cooking books. You've got the daughter who's obediently drawing while the brother, you know, wreaks havoc. And I wonder if they just focused on this boy being lost in the moment and were pure to that, whether the conversation could just remain on that rather than get distracted by these other things.
Yeah, I like the ad as well, but it is worth just unpacking a little bit as to why it did get a bit of the controversy. So I think this whole notion of purpose advertising, or what has been rebranded as woke advertising or virtue signaling advertising, it's driven by 2 things. It's driven, firstly, internally, but there's also a demand for it, which means sales will come with it. There's a demand, and we can blame the millennials or Gen Z or both. But because we know from the research,
the great news is this is the ABC, so none of them are watching.
But we know from the research, right, that 70% of the millennials say, I want to be a part of a company that has a purpose that is greater than just making money, and I want them to take a stand on important issues. The challenge we have now in doing that is in the past, before social media, advertisers could just basically do whatever they want, put it on there and off we go. But now with the transparency of social media and sort of outrage culture and call-out culture that exists now, whenever you do something that has the potential of doing some good, it's going to get attacked and it's going to get amplified. And as you know, the 300 people that complained, that wasn't the major issue. The major issue is that it exploded in social media and lots of people came at it with outrage.
Well, I think that's right, Todd. I think if you go back a decade ago, part of a creative brief may well be how does this advertising make news? And so you would deliberately write for news, because that was the beginning of Twitter creating the conversation and the beginning of the news cycle using Twitter to actually find content.
Yeah, but the catch here, though, Russell, is brands have signed up globally now to smash stereotypes with the United Nations, and John Lewis is one of them. So we're going to see a shit ton more of ads that are going to smash stereotypes and bring uncomfortable conversations into our living rooms, and more power to it. So we're going to have to get used to riding this Twitter sphere of anger and, you know, lobby groups that try and tear it down, because that's what brands have signed up to do. Purpose and profit.
We're going to smash stereotypes, but luckily they have John Lewis insurance, so that stereotypes can be replaced. John Lewis created a similar ad 6 years earlier. That version of the ad didn't receive a single complaint. Don't know why. But lately it seems that a lot of boring brands are adding a touch of, how should I put it? Yes, glitter.
I know a girl who's vaxxed up. Who, doll? Me, doll. And me, doll.
You can't sit with us.
I'm here to show you how to smash out your rental application.
OK, Christina, is this genuine progress, or am I being too cynical to say that this is just them cashing in?
Well, look, it is, like, it's evaluated as something like a $4 trillion market. So there's absolutely profit there, as gross as that sounds, as well as purpose. And I think in some instances it's genuine when there's a long-term commitment and when there's skin in the game. We know that Absolute has been involved with Gay Mardi Gras since the 1980s. They've been there for a long time. Last year, MasterCard had a great initiative, True Name. So for non-binary and trans people, you can have your preferred name on your card. Right? And that's action. None of the banks signed up to it. They put it out there. There was conversation around it, and then the bank signed up. Now, that stuff is genuine, but you can absolutely get it wrong. So Marks and Spencer had a gay sandwich for Pride Month. Basically, it was an LGBT sandwich. So lettuce, bacon, guac and tomato. They couldn't get the Q in there. Yeah. And that is opportunistic, right? And rightfully, it was shit-canned. You've got to make sure, like, brands these days are glass boxes. If you're going to do something on the outside, make sure that you reflect what you're doing on the inside, whether it's policy, representation, you've got some skin in the game. That's absolutely critical.
Yeah. The fact that they got it right or wrong, and sometimes, more often not, we're getting it wrong because it's new, diversity in advertising and media in general is critically important, because visibility, it makes a huge difference. Because when we see ourselves are being reflected, there's more empathy, there's more understanding. So visibility is important. And we don't want to be discouraging companies from taking a chance and trying. We should be trying to encourage them to do it in a better way.
I think it's really interesting, though, isn't it, Todd? It's tough. Like, just the practicalities of getting it right, I think, is incredibly difficult. And you leave yourself open for what happened to John Lewis.
I know, but on some level, we are surrounded and swamped by advertising. It has more influence on us than our parents. It has more influence on us than schools.
Yeah, I mean, well, in my house, Dad was a farmer. He was out in the field a lot. I was watching a lot of ads. For me, it was really mum and dad, not mum and dad. Of course, this scary eroding of the social fabric is nothing new. In fact, I think it all began 22 years ago when Captain Crunch released this terrifyingly progressive campaign.
I love peanut butter crunch. If you love it so much, why don't you marry it? Maybe I will.
I now pronounce you man and cereal.
So, how do you like being married to the delicious peanut buttery part of this balanced breakfast?
I love it. I love it.
Peanut butter crunch, the peanut butter taste you love.
So why don't you marry it?
Well, I'm going to say something that's never been said on the ABC before, and I'm confident of that. Corey Bernardi was right. What's next? Russell elopes with a primo scramble? That is just about all the time we have for tonight. Please thank our panel, Russell, Christina, Sunita and Todd. This year, we've been breaking the advertising fourth wall and going behind the scenes of memorable campaigns. But creating an iconic mascot is never smooth, even when it's for peanut butter. We'll see you next week.
Hi, my name's Michael Cusack, and I'm the animator of the original Mr. Oily TV commercial, which was done for Kraft peanut butter.
You know what I really don't like? Peanut butter with oil on top. It's horrible and mucky.
He's still here, and that's him there. And I have a photograph here of me animating him. It's quite amazing to think that this little stop-motion character's still here. He's a bit worse for wear, but so are we all now.
That's why I love Kraft peanut butter. It's never oily or dry.